architect, author, teacher, designer, and much, much more. George Nelson was a pivotal figure in design during the 20th century, designing hundreds of pieces of furniture, industrial design and architecture, writing a myriad of books and articles, teaching at some of America's top universities, and influencing the face of American design throughout his entire 40-year career. Born on the 29th of May 1908, George Nelson was the son of Simon and Lillian Nelson. He grew up in the city of Hartford, Connecticut, and attended Hartford Public High School, which he graduated from in 1924. In 1925, Nelson attended Yale University in Connecticut to study architecture, a decision he made after being caught in a storm while visiting the school. Stumbling into the architecture building to seek shelter from the rain, he was quickly mesmerized by the student artwork he saw as he wandered through the halls, and despite having no previous drawing skills or experience, he was inspired to study architecture at Yale, completing his first bachelor degree, the Bachelor of Arts, in 1928, and his second bachelor degree, the Bachelor of Fine Arts, in 1931. He also attended the American Catholic University in Washington to complete his graduate studies from 1931 to 1932. In 1932, Nelson competes for and wins the renowned Rome Prize, a 2-year stipend to study at the American Academy in Rome, where he lives for the next 2 years. He not only uses this opportunity to study, improve his art, and learn Italian, but to travel Europe and interview a series of well-known European architects and designers, including Le Corbusier, Mies van der Rohe, Walter Gropius, Ivar Tengbom, and Gio Ponti. Although a qualified architect, Nelson didn't design a great number of buildings during his career. However, the few that he did design were considered both innovative and revolutionary for their time. One of the most notable was the Sherman Fairchild House, which he designed with architect William Hamby between 1940 and 1941. This house was the first modern townhouse to be built in New York, and utilized a minimalist facade and a spacious floor plan to allow occupants to easily control the flow of sunlight into the house. Another notable house was the Experimental House, which he designed with architect Gordon Chadwick between 1952 and 1957. Although never built and only existing in the form of concept sketches and models, it too is considered revolutionary, as it utilized broad geometric shapes and prefabricated structures. The house was designed to be built on stilts, allowing for easy installation and expansion without the need for mass excavation. Unlike many of his contemporaries, Nelson wrote extensively throughout his career. He was a frequent contributor to architectural, business, and design magazines such as Fortune, Architectural Forum, Pencil Points, Holiday, and Industrial Design, and became an editor at several of these magazines as well. He also wrote and published numerous books over his career, which include Chairs, Living Spaces, and Storage, which were all published in 1953, Problems with Design, published in 1957, which was adapted into a television show in 1960, How to See, in 1977, George Nelson on Design in 1975, but most importantly, Tomorrow's House, published in 1945, which proved to be a turning point in Nelson's career, providing him with numerous new opportunities, which eventually led to him becoming a household name. Nelson co-authored the book Tomorrow's House with New York architect Henry Wright. The book was on the subject of designing, building, and furnishing the modern home, and in it, Nelson and Wright introduced several new and innovative concepts, such as the family room, a large, multi-purpose, and easy-to-clean room that would serve all of a family's social and recreational needs, and the storage wall, the idea of utilizing the empty space inside a wall to insert shelving, bookcases, and other forms of storage, a concept Nelson debuted in Life magazine a year earlier, in 1924. It was through the Life magazine article that Nelson came to the attention of D.J. Dupree, the current president of the Michigan-based furniture manufacturer Herman Miller. Dupree, impressed with his writing, viewed Nelson as someone whose thinking is well ahead of the parade, and hired him as a furniture designer in 1945, despite Nelson having no previous training or experience in furniture or industrial design. Nelson's premier collection was such a success that he was soon promoted to design director just 2 years later in 1947. As design director, Nelson revolutionized and expanded the company, designing everything from product lines to advertising materials to graphics, as well as hiring several other talented designers, such as Charles and Ray Eames, Alexander Gerard, and Isamu Noguchi, and played a key role in forging and cementing Herman Miller's image as one of America's most important furniture manufacturers over the next 20 years. Spurred by his appointment to design director, Nelson also opened his own design firm in New York, commonly dubbed Nelson & Company or Nelson & Associates. Over the next 2 decades, he designed hundreds of pieces for Herman Miller, with some of the most notable being the ball clock in 1949, the bubble lamps in 1952, the coconut chair in 1955, the marshmallow sofa in 1956, swag leg furniture in 1958, and the Action Office System 1 in 1964, which was the precursor of the Action Office System 2 and the modern office cubicle. On March 5th, 1986, George Nelson died at the Columbia Presbyterian Medical Center in New York at age 77, after a 40-year career as one of America's most influential industrial designers. The concept of good design originated during the 1930s, yet regained a new sense of relevance as it entered the forefront of the American conscious in the years following the Second World War. But what is good design? This can be somewhat of a difficult question, as design, like art, is very subjective, and many groups and people, such as museums, design councils, critics, and consumers, can all have different interpretations on what good design is, and whether or not a product is well designed. One interpretation of good design can be taken from Dieter Rams, a famous and influential German designer of furniture and consumer products for companies such as Braun and Witzow. During the late 70s, Rams was concerned with the state of the world, feeling it as an impenetrable confusion of forms, colours and noises, and asked himself, is my design good design? And to that end, he came up with the 10 principles of good design as his answer. In order to determine if a piece by George Nelson is well designed, it can be evaluated against 5 of Dieter Rams' principles. The piece I have chosen to evaluate is a mobile table, model 5152, which was manufactured in 1949, and featured in the What Was Good Design exhibition at the Museum of Modern Art in New York. This exhibition featured a range of consumer products, manufactured and sold between 1944 and 1956. The mobile table is well designed as it is useful. As a table, its main function is to hold objects placed on top of it. With its height of 60 centimeters, it is tall enough to easily place things on it without the need to bend over, and it has a bottom shelf allowing for extra storage. With the addition of wheels, the table can easily be moved from room to room with little effort. So, for example, food and refreshments can be placed on it in the kitchen and then easily moved to the dining or living rooms without the need for multiple trips. The mobile table is well designed, as it is minimally designed. For all intents and purposes, this table is simply 2 flat rectangular surfaces suspended by 4 iron bars which rest on a set of 4 wheels at the bottom. It has an incredibly simple design that focuses solely on being a table with wheels, nothing more and nothing less. The table is well designed as it is understandable. With its simplistic design and without the addition of any bells, whistles or anything that distracts from its purpose, it is easy to understand what the object is and what it can be used for. The table is well designed as it is aesthetic, utilizing only the shades black and white and no additional colors. The table creates a bold contrast between the black iron bars separating the white plastic surfaces of the table that is both eye-catching and versatile and can be utilized in any number of ways in any room in the house. And finally, the table is well designed as it is unobtrusive. With its simplistic design and contrasting shades, the table is striking enough to be both used as a centerpiece for a room, yet restrained enough to virtually disappear when objects are placed on or around it, allowing for maximum customization of any room it's in. Although it can be difficult to compare the work of an industrial designer such as George Nelson to the work of a very amateur character designer such as myself, I will still apply what I've learned from this assessment by keeping Nelson's work in mind, especially his use of contrast and simplistic and understandable figures when drawing and creating my own characters. By utilizing the principles of aesthetics, understandableness, and minimal design, I will endeavor to create characters that are both simple and appealing, allowing the audience to easily identify characters and understand who they are and what they represent.